So, as I read the lectionary scriptures for this Sunday, I was at a loss about what to say. The reading from Amos seemed to be a warning that those who do evil in the name of God are going to suffer the retributions for it. Psalm 52, which we didn't read, and I would encourage you to read at some point, is the psalmist, David most likely, calling out a nearby leader who's a warmonger and a greedy sort of general guy, and telling him his end is coming and that all the good people are going to laugh at how terrible and miserable his life is. And I was looking for something uplifting. It's like I want to have a really positive message. And so on to the Gospels. Surely there's something hopeful there. And we get to Martha grumbling about having to do all of the dishes. So I turned to the internet. Maybe not necessarily the best place to look for hope in this particular political climate, but I came across a sermon by Nadia Bolz-Weber. If the name sounds familiar, Bob has used a number of her prayers. She is the founder and former pastor of a Lutheran congregation in Denver, House of All Sinners and Saints. And I found that the sermon spoke to me, and I modified it only slightly for this situation. Just to get it out there, this story about Mary and Martha has always irritated me, because I think Martha is awesome, and she's always made out to be a busybody and a whiner. You see, Jesus is welcomed into the home in Mary and Martha, and the thing to understand is that Jesus didn't exactly travel alone. The dude had an entourage. So to welcome Jesus is to welcome everyone who Jesus brings in with him. And to extend hospitality to that many people takes a lot of work. So Martha becomes understandably overwhelmed by her tasks and tries to get Jesus to talk to her sister, Mary, into helping her. Since Mary, up to this point, has only been sitting at Jesus' feet listening. Jesus tells Martha that Mary has chosen the better part and it will not be taken away from her. Well, yes, but we need people who are willing to serve, who are willing to do the sometimes thankless task of making hospitality and community work. Since to welcome Jesus is to welcome all who Jesus would bring with him, somebody has to get up, open up the church, and turn on the air conditioner. Someone has to compose the bulletin and print it and fold it. And someone has to pick the hymns and the prayers and the reading. And someone has to write or find a sermon to preach. So, I spent several days this week distracted by how much work it was to put together a worship service. It's kind of like teaching a class. There's a whole lesson plan that has to go into this. And how Martha got a bad rap. And that I felt really satisfied until I thought about it. So how many fellowship dinners and coffee socials have I attended over the years? And how often have I personally helped set up or tear down or actually even bring anything to eat? The number is really embarrassingly small. So try as I might this week, I couldn't find a comfortable place to land in this story. I was trying to make it into a moralism about the relative merit of doing or not doing tasks, of action versus contemplation. Because it felt bad to be snarky about people not doing the work. And it felt bad to realize in other situations in my life I was one of those that wasn't doing the work. Honestly, there's merit to action and merit to contemplation. And I don't really think that was Jesus' point. When Jesus said to her, Martha, you're distracted by many things. Mary has chosen the better part. It will not be taken away. I wonder if he meant not that we are distracted by the work itself, but that we're distracted from the better part when we judge the actions or inactions of others through the lenses of our own personality. So here's a small example. When I'm sitting in a turn lane, waiting for a green arrow, I take it upon myself to consider the people behind me and leave as short a distance as safely possible between me and the car in front so as many of the people behind me can get through the light before it turns. Inevitably, when someone leisurely leaves 4 car lengths between them and the car turning in front of me, and allowing only 2 cars to get through a green light instead of 6, I assume they're not a team player. Only after themselves, or either just selfish or lazy. Wow, that's an awful lot of judgment on personhood of someone based solely on how quickly they turn on green. But that's the thing we do, where we judge the actions of others based on how we ourselves move in the world. And that's a distraction from the main thing. If the reason you help set up and clean up for worship and fellowship is because you value the community, the church, and are grateful that others have set it up for you, that does not mean that those who don't set up do so because they don't value the community of the church or because they're ungrateful to others. And the more we live our lives in this kind of judgment about the action of others, the more distracted we are from the better part, the main thing, which will not be taken away from us. When we think the main thing is who does what and why, when you think the main thing is whatever you get out of this, or the main thing is that your friends are here, and it's all just busyness and distraction, and all of it will eventually be taken away. The main thing, the thing that will not be taken away, that we, myself included, so easily forget, is our sacred story. It's a simple story, really, even as it is unfathomable in its beauty. So here it is again, since I too often forget. There is a God who created us and all that is. The same God spoke through the prophets and the poets, claimed to people to be God's own, and freed them from the shackles of slavery. This same God led those people through the wilderness to a land of milk and honey, and told them to always welcome the stranger and protect the foreigner so they could remember where they all came from and what God had done for them. Then, in the fullness of time, and to draw all people to himself, God came and broke our hearts as only a little baby can do, and made God's home in the womb of a fierce young woman, as though God were saying, from now on, this is how I want to be known. And as Jesus, God, kissed lepers and befriended prostitutes and baffled authorities, Jesus ate with all the wrong people. And on the night before he died, he held up bread and he told us to do the same thing, and he promised so much that he would be with us, that forgiveness is real, that we are God's, that people matter, and the grilled fish sometimes makes an awesome breakfast. And from the tree on which Jesus hung, he pronounced judgment on us all. Forgive them, Father. They know not what they're doing. We never do, really. We never seem to know what we're doing, and sometimes we think the Bible's going to solve all of that for us. Like a story like Jesus' visit with Mary and Martha is going to give us a clear moral lesson so we can know what we're doing. And then we think we've got it down, and we begin to judge the actions of others, and the moment we do that, we've lost the plot. So maybe choosing the better part isn't about choosing between action and contemplation. Maybe it isn't about working or sitting at Jesus' feet, since the Christian life has always been a combination of the two. Maybe choosing the better part is not judging the actions of others through the lenses of our own personality, because when we do so, it's just a distraction from the main thing. And this story around which we gather, this main thing, it can never be taken away because it's always forming who you are, and like water on rock, it slowly and sometimes imperceptibly shapes us into the glory of God. And that's why we've come here. Not to see our friends or take advantage of free food. It's to remember our story. And the story of God and God's people will stand. And unlike so much else in life, it will not be taken away. Let us pray. God, you sent prophets, scriptures, even your own Son, to both challenge us to be better people and to give us hope that is possible. Continue to guide us today and always.